what is it, 7 after 7, 9 of 9, so we're in good shape. So, it is 7:07. This is the Jamaica Selectboard agenda for Monday, the 9th of 9 of 19. So somebody should buy us a lottery ticket using 19. It's not. First order of business is to call for any late additions to the agenda. I have one. Anybody else have any? Hearing none, seeing none, good, we'll move on.
So what is the one?
The one is, I spent, okay, I was at a emergency management conference, preparation conference over the weekend. And something came up then, so I didn't have time to put it on the agenda, but it's something we'll put on, because I want to brief the citizens on. Number 2, approve the minutes of the August 26th Select Board meeting. They're all set out electronically, and you have them in front of you. Are there any questions, gripes, or complaints?
I move we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Any further discussion? Yes, one thing. Number 11, so Joel said they would be meeting at the Wilmington Memorial Hall on September 11th. I thought it was the 13th, but it was 11th, but then I got an email today saying they moved it from the 13th to the 11th. Did you get that email?
I didn't, but I always thought it was the 11th.
He said the 11th. I
Okay,
remember
right.
Did he say
saying
the 11th?
that. Yeah.
Okay, because anyhow, I got an email today moving it from the 13th to the 11th. I assume it's the same
It may have
thing.
been an email yesterday moving it to the 13th, so they could move it back to the 11th.
Anything's possible.
Wonderful.
Anyhow, I did have that down just to make sure. The email I got this afternoon is the 11th.
Confirms to it.
Okay, good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are accepted as written. Thank you, ma'am. Next item of business is the timesheets for the town office solicitors, highway, and transfer station. As usual, sign the select board orders is number 4. We will do that at the end of the session, and this is our practice. Number 5 is to sign and publish the warning for the October 15th town meeting and vote on the water project. No, I'm sorry, meeting and vote, not meeting, comma, and vote. We're not voting tonight, just meeting. The warning says, the legal voters of the town of Jamaica in the county of Windham in the state of Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet at 7 p.m. at the town hall in said town of Jamaica on Tuesday, October 15th, 2019, to transact the following business and act upon the following articles. Article 1, shall the voters of Jamaica encourage the select board to continue pursuit of a public water system by contracting for exploration of a water source with VHB for approximately $203,990 plus site permitting. Approved as the legal warning for the town of Jamaica for October 15th, 2019. On this 9th day of September 2019, the following select board will sign this if we all approve. I would accept the motion to approve this warning.
Make a motion to approve the warning as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I do. One of the problems I'm having, and I know we've talked about this way back when we start using initials, we really need to state what that initial is, and what brought it up in my head was, what is VHB?
Yes, you brought that up once before. VHB, and I talked to the company and myself and asked them, and they said that is the name of their company. This doesn't stand for anything except somebody's initials. So VHB is the name of the company as we described back in whatever it was we talked about it.
Okay.
And I asked about that because I felt the same way you do. We should have the word written out. She said, no, it's VHB.
Yeah, because I noticed, I was reading over our notes, our minutes, and you will use the initials, but when you write about it, you write the whole word out, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, she's very good at
doing
that. Yep.
So,
But in this case, we're trapped.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
okay. Thank
Any
you.
further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the warning will be published tomorrow. And this puts us into the vote on, the information on the vote on 15th of October. Excellent. The next item is item number 6, discuss a change in the town's policy of open Wi-Fi in light of a recent municipal ransomware attacks. We had actually talked about this before I went to this conference, but the conference had a lot of stuff on cybersecurity, and I'm sure this is right down your bailiwick. When we first had Wi-Fi here, I was of a mind that we ought to provide it to the citizens of Jamaica who lived in the boondocks and couldn't get Wi-Fi. They could come down here, park in the parking lot, and use their Wi-Fi. There was some kickback from a number of people, which I took and I listened and I respected their opinion, but wanted to do this because I thought that was reasonable. Subsequent to that, and as echoed by the courses I took this weekend, and what we had already started thinking about, because I wrote this Thursday before I went to courses, there's been so many ransom attacks in recent months, especially some aimed specifically at small towns, because they only ask for like $50,000 or $60,000, and it costs you, it could take $1 million or $2 million to get it cleaned up. So I've been beaten into submission. So what I'm proposing to the select board is that we change our policy that said the Wi-Fi was open and go to a password protected Wi-Fi.
You can implement a guest account.
Well, what we're thinking about doing that, I'm going to talk with you about how to do that. We want to make it possible for people who are coming into work. If somebody comes in, they can get the password from the...
It's all too, and I talked to you about this a while ago, but I don't remember. I mean, it's all how your network is segmented up. If you have, if your servers and such are segmented away from the internet, people can't get to the machines, then, or if they're standalone machines just on the wireless, it's not really an issue. Not a big issue, but I do recommend that we password protect it. I think that's.
Is that something you can help us with?
Yes, I can tell you.
Okay. And you can help me with that, good. Because I know that I would prefer some of the things that they're doing to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a wise thing to do, but we probably should just, what I can do is work with Lou, because I know he's the most knowledgeable to kind of figure out what's here, and I know I went over with it when I first joined the select board years ago, a couple years ago, so I don't remember offhand, but we can take a look at it and, make any other changes that we might want to make, and we can bring that to the board.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So we should do that soon before they catch up to us.
Yep.
And it was emphasized, anybody who is sensitive to that, this is something that we covered in this meeting over the weekend. The cybersecurity people are really saying this. If you have not paid attention to this before now, start paying attention to it now. Especially anybody in the municipal or public corporations, anything that has potentially deep pockets is where they're going.
Do we need a motion on that?
I don't know that we do. Just a consensus of the group, I think, is we're all nodding in approval. Yeah, I don't think we used the motion to do it before. We just did it as a administrative thing. So we're all nodding in agreement, so that will take place as soon as you two can figure out how best to do it.
I'll leave it up to her if she needs my help.
She's in charge of everything.
Yeah, I mean, like things like the website are posted up online, so we don't have to worry about
Yeah,
that.
they
But we're not
can't get
posting
that.
all, I don't know about the financial system, is that if she has a Quicken or QuickBooks or something that she
Nemrick,
uses.
we use Nemrick for everything.
Limerick, is it local or is it
It's,
in the cloud?
it's on our X server.
So
I
it is
shouldn't say
on,
that on TV.
no, it's
I
on the
know.
server, then okay, well, we should look at that then.
The Q server.
Okay. Alright, yeah, okay.
Okay, so we're gonna get that fixed. Thank you very much. The next item of business, we have a guest member of the family. We talked about discussing a ditch blower for the road department. We talked about this some time ago, and we budgeted for it, and Keith, who's going to identify himself to the camera, so you'll see that out of a huge crowd, you'll recognize who Keith is, and discuss it for us.
Yeah, at the budget meetings, we budgeted for a debris blower. And then we budgeted $7,500. The real price is $7,600. I guess why I'm here before I go ahead and purchase this is that what I found is that there's only one source for this. There's hundreds of blowers you can find out there, but they're either to blow your driveway off or an airport runway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was probably made for like roadsides and golf courses. And I think other towns have run into this because every other town that I find out has one has this particular brand. So it's new enough where no one else has jumped in on it yet. So this is all I can get for a price.
What does it specifically do? Just cleans out dishes?
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's like as big as one of these tables. It sits on a small
Okay.
trailer and it literally blows the debris out of the ditches. Fairly big wood.
Oh, I was wondering.
That's
Jesus,
my
it's
question
like-
too, what kind of, there's a lot of debris in the ditches that
Oh yeah, I mean,
doesn't
I think
appear to
it'll,
be blowable.
I think it'll take your feet out from under if you walk, you know.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
really? Okay.
But it's also, a lot, you know, it's not the single use. You use it like when you do fall grading, blow the leaves off the road before you grade so you don't have a mess with the leaves. And the late fall, get the leaves off the edge of the road so the entire road freezes. So we don't end up, like this past winter, we plowed our gravel into the ditches. You know, that strip where the leaves are on the edge of the road is always, it's never frozen. So that was kind of the point of my,
Can we use that to blow snow?
I don't know.
No?
I guess you could.
You know, I just
I
thought
could
about that.
blow it up next to your house.
I probably, right. I hadn't thought of where we would do it, I just thought we were talking about airport. You know?
So you anticipate using it more than just a
Yeah.
few weeks in the fall?
Oh yeah, use it in the spring, you know, the packed down leaves that made their way back into the road. You blow that out before you pull that into the road. They're pretty helpful. Because once you get leaves in with the gravel,
Oh, for sure.
it doesn't flow off the moldboard and you end up with like pockets of leaves that get buried, which dry out, which turns into a big pothole. Or which breeds more mud in the spring. And
Yeah, I was just looking at the costs per
Yeah.
usage and if
I mean,
it
I
was used 2
tried
weeks out
to
of the year.
split it with another town.
But that was one of my next questions too, and that's some of the other towns that have one.
Yeah, I tried with 3 other, you know, neighboring towns, so we weren't getting too far away. And they were either definitely don't have money for it, or, you know, we're gonna buy our own so we don't have to share. You know, or one of them, what if it breaks, who fixes it? So
Have you used one before?
I'm not using it, I've seen it on YouTube.
Yeah. Are there towns, local towns that have them, that have, endorsed them versus the U2 endorsement?
No, the only town that I've seen, I think Dummerston and Brattleboro have them. Brattleboro has them mounted on, I think theirs is mounted on the tractor that mows the road, so they mow the road and blow the stuff they mow, as well as doing the ditches.
Well, I know the 8-degree hill that we have right near our home, you're constantly putting in new ditches,
Yeah,
all the time, because
Yeah.
it gets out in the road. Just last week, I think, when we had some heavy rains, we had a whole bunch of new streams coming down the
Yeah.
center. And it's simply because the ditches fill up.
they do. It's a narrow spot
Yeah.
through there, and it's not a lot you can do, but.
That's the other question I have too. I mean, there seems to be a lot of narrow spots and a lot of roads that there's really nowhere to blow stuff, and a lot of times it just means you gotta get out of the truck and pull a branch out of it. I mean, I
Right,
see
no,
stuff.
no, I know. No, there's spots where you really have to clean it with a loader before you even grade it. We have a lot of those in the spring where you just have to pick up the stuff that's carried into these kind of like bobsled runs, that there's no,
Some of the old roads are definitely got
Yeah.
beat to that one.
and I mean, there's those sections are disappearing slowly, but not, they're not disappearing quick enough. So that's.
Is there a way to demo the thing? I mean, I just.
Yeah, I'm sure the guy put
To
it down.
make a commitment for
Yeah.
$7,600 and just say, well, geez, I don't know. it's not really what
I'm
we
sure
thought."
he'd bring it down. I could call him and ask him. I don't know what we blow now. It'd be the kind of thing where you'd have to wait till there's.
Yeah, well, you can get some idea of whether it's gonna
Right.
move a stick or a branch or a log or.
Right.
and-
Yeah, I mean, I'll give the guy a call, definitely.
Well, the way I think, having lived on my road for over 35 years, 36 years now, it's a good investment. Because we do have continuous problems where the water keeps running into the road in different areas.
Right.
That's gonna help, but I think we should just go for it.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the leaves, I mean, the idea is fantastic. I'm just not so sure, I mean.
Right.
You know, is it as practical as it seems that it is?
Um,
That's where my concern, I think it's, I mean, getting leaves off the road, out of the ditches, all that is wonderful, needed.
And I'm thinking in terms of the rocks that are put down, I'm saying this goes back to the Clean Water Act, ultimately.
Yeah,
The rocks that are put down are supposed to allow the water to flow to where it's supposed to go. Once they get clogged with leaves, then those rocks down there are useless.
yeah,
So now the gravel we put down becomes useless, it's all covered with leaves, so that pretty much obviates any of the work they had done to make that work.
yeah,
And so we're back with pushing water into the wrong place.
yeah. Well, I'm seeing the gravel's in the ditch already and it's gonna be blowing gravel off the road at the same time it's blowing leaves off the road. I mean, if it truly can move a stick off the road, it's gonna be blowing gravel into the ditch too at the same time. That's what I'm just not sure.
So I hear you say, well, the stuff that they put in the ditches are pretty good.
No,
stuff.
I mean, it's gonna be the road surface gravel, it's gonna be then blown
well,
off into the ditch.
it's like a vectoring system. It's like a big elbow.
Yeah,
So you see it in your mirror of the vehicle you're driving it in, and it's wireless, this like tube. So you pull up to, you're only blowing what you want to blow. It's not like just this general blast of air.
yeah.
It's like a exhaust pipe that goes down that you can see and you can lift, and so that, as far as like sitting out in the road and just blowing, like, unless you wanted to blow the gravel off the road, I don't think you have to.
No, don't.
No.
So yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I'll call the guy and see if he'll let us demo one before.
Yeah, I mean, or, you know, certainly talk to some of the other towns. I mean, I think it's great, I mean, it's probably gonna be something that's gonna be super helpful, but is it gonna be as, you know, the godsend kind of thing to clean up every ditch? I mean, sometimes you're gonna have to get out and you're
Oh
gonna,
yeah,
there's gravel in the ditch already that's getting in there.
you're still gonna have to ditch it with a machine. There's still gonna be a ton of that. There still is, but.
Yeah. Cause there's gravel filling up the brickwork already.
Right.
Even after a year, and it's
Yeah.
supposed to be a
doesn't take
10-year
long.
thing or whatever. Or,
It's just what gets plowed in there
right.
or spun in there. The other portion was, we're currently working on Warden Road right now. We got a grant, the grants and aid for just bringing roads up to standards, and that was the road that Wyndham Regional chose for us. So that's, I think we got 17,800 for it. So we're doing all the culverts, stone line ditches, we're cutting a lot of trees and getting rid of some berms.
What road is that again?
Warden Road.
Oh.
It wasn't, this particular road isn't, it wasn't chosen because it's hydrologically connected. It was just chosen from a maintenance standpoint. Something that goes to heck all the time. So they let us do that one, which is good. I mean, there's not a lot of people who live up there, but it's, summer downpours, you have to go up there a lot. It's the kind of thing that just jumps out of the ditch, and the culverts are undersized and old. So if there's any question about that, there's wood on the side of the road up there as well. We've had to cut a lot of trees, so there's wood in one of the pull-offs. It's the landowner's wood, but if he doesn't want it, I mean, I know there's people that run the circuit for firewood.
We should check with the landowner first before
Yeah.
we take it.
That's
Okay.
sort of all I have, unless someone's got some questions.
So do we want to wait until he gets a chance to test drive it before we approve the amount, or should we approve it and let him do that and then veto it as he sees fit?
I would go for the second.
Give them the money, and then if it doesn't, if it's not something you can use, you can say, sorry, it doesn't work. That'll,
We'll prove him to spend the money, but if he doesn't want to spend the money, then.
Yeah,
exactly, that just facilitates movement, because it's September.
right,
And I'd rather, because we have to wait another couple of weeks, that's another couple of weeks.
right.
Yeah, well, maybe it's the kind of thing, if there's a rainy day or something, I can scoot up there, and if they have one up there, they can.
Where's up there?
Run through, or,
Where are they?
by Stowe, Morrisville.
Mooresville?
All right, well, I'll look into that either way.
Sure.
And there's a salesman down here, maybe we'll just tell him that.
So,
I make a motion. I move that we invest in the.
what's the official term?
Debris.
Debris blower.
At $7,600 with the provision that if it appears that it's not workable, then it will be returned.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes, and you will let us know what you decide.
All right, I'll get in touch with someone this week.
Okay. The next item of business is a review of a possible change. By this sentence, I am saying we can discuss whether we wish to review and possibly change the cemetery fees. It turns out that after some research by people, our cemetery fees are around $25. Adjacent communities are closer to 300.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Meaning for maintenance.
Well, that fee for the plot, that covers
Oh,
for in perpetuity. And so, and some private cemeteries up to about 1,000. So there are some provisions on how to make this work, you know, X number of vases for cremated remains can go in a plot versus maybe one or two, if it's a double plot. You know, that needs to be worked out in detail. But the $25 versus $300 seems to me a little bit, because we're still having to pay for maintenance, we're still mowing it, we're still paying for stone repair, and there's no money for that. So unless people start dying in droves,
Where does it come from that we pay those bills?
well, we've been, there's a cemetery fund that I'm not exactly sure how we fund it, I have to go back and research that, but it's getting pretty. When we repaired the trees, remember the trees that were down over in Rossendale? That came out of the general fund. So those kinds of one or two time things comes out of the general fund, unbudgeted for. I mean, this is, you can't predict a crashing tree,
Right.
or some of those broken stones. So it makes sense, I think, to at least review our policy and make some adjustments.
If there was enough money in the cemetery fund, would that cleanup have come out of the cemetery fund versus the general?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, logically, you'd think so, but
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
if we didn't have it,
both for
needed to be
making sure
done.
there's enough money in there.
Yeah. So I don't know the exact thing, because I just don't have the answers to that. But one of the sections was asking about this, that we should start rethinking that policy.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were you proposing?
Well, I would propose that I hate to say this because it sounds ridiculous, but we need a committee or some people to take the time to look into what it is logically gonna cost us to take care of this stuff and how much the municipality ought to charge compared to similar organizations.
Get a baseline.
And then come back with a recommendation.
Exactly,
That
right,
makes sense to
recommendation.
me.
Just parenthetically, I'd like to throw something else in there. When I was talking to one of the sections about how this is working on a regular basis, there is very little documentation about where things are. It looks to me, as somebody who doesn't know anything about this, there ought to be some sort of a map saying which plots are available, which ones are taken, apparently there's an exercise where someone bought a plot that actually had somebody already in it. Did not work out well. So we probably ought to invest in having our cemeteries mapped, which is going to be, it's going to be fairly expensive, I'm afraid. But I think the first thing we need to do is, before we spend money that we don't have, get some money, so that we now have a fund that we can get that sort of thing done. So the mapping may be a long-term thing down the road, but I think we should keep that in mind as something that ought to be done. Because there's not that many, we should know what we have in the ground.
Right.
That makes sense.
So, because it involves spending money, I'd accept a motion to form a committee to look into this for a review of the funding and come back with a recommendation for the new
I'll make
fees.
a motion.
Did you get it?
Very good.
I'll second it.
Do you have a motion written down?
Get the motion written down, what I'm supposed to be saying.
I'm writing it down now. Make
Motion
it.
to create a cemetery commission, or cemetery study group.
Study to,
Study
Cemetery.
to determine market value.
Deep subject.
About 60 cemetery.
Determine.
So all in favor of the motion to form a committee to study, say aye. Any further discussion? I would only like to add that I would like to see at least one of the sextons on that committee.
for certain.
Because they're the
They
one.
know.
Right, they're the ones who know.
And, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, let's move forward with that. Do we have anybody who'd like to chair that committee? Oh, I saw your hand go up, I thought for a second. I said, yeah, you wear a hat, get your hand up there.
We haven't made our
Chair the
share.
committee, I'll do that.
You'll chair the committee? Okay, so Tom will chair the committee and pick a couple of other people and.
Yeah, I'll find some, I'll talk to some of the sextons first or somebody, and he does.
I suppose the people who know it best are the people who are already in it, but they won't be completing.
Not really in it.
Not in it.
Well, and some of the work is
Yeah.
comparing other towns around and calling around the
Exactly.
cemeteries, I wanna buy a plot, how much you
Sure.
charge?
Yeah, I think that's probably,
And figure out what Brattleboro charges.
Is that
in town.
$25 forever?
Yes.
One time?
so.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's
One
what-
time.
$25.
So buy a plot.
There's thousands and thousands of dollars in
Yeah.
other places.
Yeah.
Yeah, in New York or wherever, I mean, you're gonna be thousands.
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna be in the
A
red.
lot of cemeteries have switched over because people are using Vermont cemeteries like as a body dump,
Oh, really?
because it is so inexpensive.
So let's erase everything we put on the camera about how much it costs now. Suspense sales, nobody dies early just to make the discount.
Anyway,
Anyway, thank you very much.
Moving on.
Moving on. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, see you.
He's in touch. Okay, the next order of business, did you all bring your survey? The survey that Alexa filled out for us, the local regional input questionnaire. Remember we passed them out to everybody so they could look them over and what we need to do is, my thinking on this one is to just go through each item. Sarah will write down what we decide to put in there and we will put it together tomorrow and mail it the heck out.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go.
Does anybody need a copy of it?
I don't have a copy.
Yeah, I do.
You have your copy?
I don't, if I do.
Oh, that's it right there. That looks like it.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right, the first question is, are there any regularly scheduled public events in the community that generate increased traffic, vehicular, bicycles, pedestrians, or may be difficult to stage? And question number one. The answer she wrote was no public events. Jamaica State Park is open May to October, and there are 4 permanent full-time residents.
I disagree that the dam release would increase traffic over that bridge.
It certainly would.
Yes, so twice a year we have, in fact, the fall dam release is quite a
Coming
bit of traffic.
Yeah.
Come increase over that.
So the dam releases, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And then they're in
October,
There was
sorry,
one in
September
April.
and May.
May and September?
Or April?
It's April.
April and September.
April and September.
April and
April and
September.
Coming up in 2 weeks, yes.
All right, so-
And it's quite, I mean, the spring one tends to be less, but the fall is
Sure.
quite busy at the state park.
In
Yeah.
the spring when that water's about, what, 32.5 degrees?
But it's high water, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
And
Well,
then fall is.
they did reduce it for 1 year or so.
A couple years they've done that, depending on
Just
water.
But
one,
routinely it's spring and fall.
yeah.
But it's always in the fall. Sometimes they cut the spring one, but it's.
Oh, that's correct,
always
you're
in
right.
the fall.
So when we said Jamaica State Park is open May to October and has its semi-annual
Semi-annual.
spring release, spring
Damn it.
dam release,
No
spring and fall dam release.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And,
What about the kids? Are we writing that on there too?
well, I'm saying that there are 4 permanent full-time residents on the other side. I don't know how many kids there are, do we know?
I thought
Three.
you said that was
There's
kids.
3 kids on the other side?
And Jamar's children, and Jamar and Christine's children. I don't think anyone else over there has children.
No, as long as I can think of. Well, she wrote 4 permanent full-time residents. I'm thinking 4 permanent full-time families.
Families, right?
There we
Four
go.
houses, right?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
make it
that would
families,
be
because that would
more than
include kids
children.
and dogs and stuff.
Right.
Because
Okay.
people still use it.
All right, so how does that sound, everybody?
Good.
Okay? Sarah, do you want to read back what we just agreed to,
No.
please? Thank
Jamaica State Park is open May through October. There's a semi-annual dam release April and September, and there are 4 permanent full-time families.
you. Thank you. We agree to that? Excellent. Moving to number 2. Is there a slow season or period of time from May through October where traffic is less or no events are scheduled? I don't think there's a slow time.
No,
No.
there's not.
Yeah,
Either.
so we put in none, she wrote not that the select board is aware of, so I don't think there's a slow time as such.
No, there's
So
not.
put,
No.
correct. Number 3, please describe the location of town garage, etc. Lecture wrote, the town garage is at 32 Town Shed Road, north of town. Jamaica Fire is at 4017 Vermont Route 30, north of town. The Wyndham County Sheriff's Department rescuing are both in West Townsend. But they're asking for the emergency response people. It also asks for phone numbers. I guess tomorrow I'll look up the phone numbers for that, because I didn't think of the phone numbers. Number 4, are there businesses, including agricultural operations and industrial parks or delivery services, fuels or goods, that would be adversely impacted due to work zone proximity? The answer is yes. The state park and the 4 full-time resident families.
Yeah, and also, doesn't the one owner cut wood and sell it?
No,
Well-
Not anymore.
Not anymore. He was trying to, but
Doesn't that fall in that category? If
Well,
it
I don't
were
think he'd be
available?
impacted, I don't think he'll be impacted because he's not doing it until the bridge is repaired.
yeah, he tried it with pony carts, with smaller loads, and then
Yeah.
he said it wasn't economical for him.
Could you
So,
reread the question?
the question is number 4.
Yeah, could you reread it?
Sure. Are there businesses, including agricultural operations and industrial parks, or delivery services, fuel or goods, that would be adversely impacted due to work zone proximity?
Okay.
Okay? So there really isn't any work zone proximity. There's a field there, the school's a distance away, so I think we're okay. But you're right, if the guy was doing his logging, that would be an issue, but
Yeah.
he stopped because of the bridge, so.
Yeah, he's not.
Number 5, are there important public buildings, town hall, community center, senior center, library, or community facilities, recreational fields, town green, etc., close to the project? She wrote no. There's that one field that the school uses, but that's not a,
That's a rec committee, and we don't want to use the field.
They-
There's
okay.
a soccer net out there, but we need to move that back down to the ball fields because
Yeah.
soccer has changed. The way we do soccer, we do it all down in Leland Gray. Now we use the field down there as a practice field, so it's totally
okay.
different.
So the answer is no to that one. Number
What about-
6.
What about the school though? They could say public buildings,
Um,
and the school's fairly close to that.
Just says nearby, I think we should.
It says close to the project. Well, I was thinking would it be impacted by actual construction?
Maybe with trucks coming through, I mean, it depends what they're doing.
Yeah, because they're not, I mean, you can still use the school and get to and from the school, even if they're constructing it. But should we add the school in here, do you
I
think?
think we should.
Doesn't hurt to include it.
Okay, then let's put in the elementary school, what are we saying? Quarter of a mile?
Is it in close proximity?
Quarter of a mile.
It just says
not
that
even-
proximity, it
Yeah,
doesn't say
yeah,
it's
I walked down
proximity.
enough times,
Yeah.
it's not quarter of a mile, it's right there.
About eighth of a mile.
Eighth of a mile probably.
Okay, so the elementary school is approximately eighth of a mile from the bridge. Number 6, what other municipal operations could be adversely affected by the work zone at this bridge? She wrote none. Obviously, we're not gonna be able to plow roads in the winter. It sort of depends on whether it's winter or not. Because municipal operations, the only one we have is road maintenance. So I was thinking,
Okay.
my thought was put in road maintenance
Yeah,
during the winter.
that makes sense.
Because those are the only municipal operations, it already covered the commercial ones. Number 7, is there a local business association, chamber of commerce, regional development corporation, or other downtown group that we should be working with? If known, the answer to that one's no. Okay. Number 8, are there any public transit services or stops that use the bridge? The answer to that's no. Okay.
Schools should be okay.
Schools. Where are the schools in your community and what are their yearly schedules? Examples, first we consider. Jamaica Grade School. Jamaica Elementary School, I think.
Grade,
Yeah.
Jamaica Village School.
Yeah, JBS.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Jamaica Village School, that's even more
That's what I've
correct.
been writing.
Good, thank you. 347 Depot Street. School opened the last week of August until the 3rd week in June.
That's right.
Okay? Number 2, is this project on specific routes that school buses or students use to walk to and from school? Yes.
Potentially.
Students walking to school and home from, well, we've got those 4 families on the other side of the bridge.
Then they go to town.
They still have to get across the
They
bridge.
have to get across the bridge, so yeah, you're right. Yeah, but they're on.
Yeah,
I'm
still
just
gotta
saying
go
they're-
across the
they're
bridge.
still use Bridge, but yeah.
So we should say yes, and then say students,
Are transported.
yeah, family members, students and adults from the homes on the other side of the bridge
Are transported to
are
school.
transported to school and work,
Okay.
but to school. Number 3, are there recreational facilities associated with schools nearby? No. Next section is pedestrians and bicycles. What is the current level of bicycle and pedestrian use on the bridge? She wrote it not applicable. We really don't know. Do you have any feel?
Well, I
You would-
Walk out there quite a bit, I would say a couple times a week.
I know a number of people from town that would walk over there just to go for walks.
Bike
And
and,
the
Yeah.
town state park, I can't imagine doesn't drive people
Yeah.
walking around.
Yeah.
yeah, people come up, a lot of people walk up to town.
I know.
I mean, we don't have a number, but it's gotta be high. And I think our town plan supports a walkable village and everything, so there's people that do walk
Yeah.
up and down there.
And actually, when I was waiting for you guys to make our survey, there were a couple of bikes that went
Yeah.
across from the,
There is a
My
plan,
kids do, my kids go down there and they fish down there and stuff.
yeah.
Jamaica has formed a chapter of the Vermont Mountain Bike Association now and working with the state park and the Army Corps to develop a trail network there too.
Yeah, that's
They're
neat.
meeting right now,
Sure.
they're moving fairly quickly to have some trails developed.
So the end was moderate.
Moderate.
Yeah,
It's called
Especially
moderate.
at the state park, I think that there is a lot of people come down.
Yeah.
A lot of people walk by my house with their dogs and go that direction. I'm
Yeah.
assuming they're heading down to the park or they're heading down to.
And I know people in
Yeah,
wintertime,
to that.
even though it's wintertime, they're still using that facility for cross-country skiing and snowshoeing,
Right.
that sort of stuff. So that's year-round. Put in the line moderate year-round,
okay.
because I think people think of the park closing, but that doesn't slow
Oh,
people.
it's got a lot of people in the wintertime hiking and snowshoeing.
Yeah,
Number 2, are the current lane and shoulder widths adequate for pedestrians and bicycle use? It's a funny question,
No.
because if it was just pedestrians and just bicycles, it'd be yes. But it's a vehicle bridge, so the answer is no. Because you can't do cars and bikes on that bridge,
right.
unless you're riding
Correct.
a really, really skinny bike. So we'll put no for that. Does the community feel there's a need for a sidewalk or bike lane on the bridge?
I'd say yes.
I would say yes.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I would say yes. Number 4, is pedestrian and bicycle traffic heavy enough that it should be accommodated during construction?
Yes.
Especially. Depends when they do it.
Yeah, well, it should be accommodated year-round. I think we have to say
I
yes,
say yes.
because you can't just start the bridge and then nobody,
Well,
although,
and the people who are living on the other side obviously need some way to get back and forth to their house.
yeah, Alexa wrote, accommodations should be made for bike, walking, and driving traffic.
Correct.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
agree with that.
yeah.
I think that's accurate. Does the town have plans to construct either pedestrian or bicycle facilities leading up to the bridge? Please provide any planning documents demonstrating this, scope studies, master plan, money. And she wrote, not at this time. And I think that we're aware that they're talking about doing the bicycle thing, but not, the town doesn't have any plans.
Not specifically the town, other than the town plan does highly support a walkable village, so, I mean, it's not a literal trail that leads in, but I mean, there is a sidewalk that leads most of the way.
So let's put in the statement and say that, not at this time, but the town plan includes accommodations for pedestrian and bicycle traffic.
Right, and the state park is working on it.
Well,
Trail.
actually, there are a lot of people who go in that direction to go over to Hamilton Falls. So there is like a regular hiking.
Oh, yeah, up over
Yeah,
oh, it's busy, yeah, it's busy.
because they often come down our road.
So for number 5, let's just say, not at this time, but
Yeah.
accommodations for bicycle and pedestrian traffic are in the town plan. Or whatever I said.
And
Number 6, in the vicinity of the bridge, is there a land use pattern, existing generators of pedestrian and or bicycle traffic, or zoning that will support development that is likely to lead to significant levels of walking and bicycling? All in favor of understanding what the hell that says, please raise your hand. Oh, you understand?
no,
What's
I
the
thought you
answer?
were gonna tell us what it,
Oh,
that you were
that's
gonna, that we
In the
didn't
vicinity of the bridge, Is
understand.
there a land use pattern?
Well, I think that the park is that land use pattern, it's a public
That's pretty much a straight shot,
public
yeah.
area that has hiking and biking trails in it, and they're continuing to develop it, so that's a pattern.
That is, I think that is an existing generator of pedestrian and bicycle traffic. We don't have zoning, so that doesn't make any difference. Is likely to lead to significant levels. So I think the answer, it says no, but I really think the answer is yes. The Jamaica State Park is a generator of pedestrian and bicycle traffic.
Certainly.
Yes.
Design considerations. Are there any concerns with the alignment of the existing bridge? For example, if the bridge is located on a curve, has created any problems that we should be aware of? And she wrote not aware of any, and I don't know that,
I think it's a good,
it's pretty much a straight shot.
it's a straight shot.
Yeah. So she put not aware of, good. 2, are there any concerns with the width of the existing bridge? She said yes, difficulty for pedestrians, bikes crossing the existing bridge.
Yes.
So it's difficult for pedestrians and bicycles to pass at the same time as vehicles.
Yeah, I think actually going back to the first one, the number 1, there's no specific, there's no specific concerns with the current bridge location, but if a temporary bridge was put in, I know Joel and I had some conversation about the possibility of using the existing bridge as the temporary bridge.
Yes.
And then just going from scratch, the new bridge is parallel to it.
If it's, see, my thinking is along those very lines, that's kind of a narrow little approach and a narrow little exit.
Right. I mean,
So,
but it's something I
nicer-
think worth mentioning for at least some awareness
I'm
of
not
the
sure.
engineers.
That gets into the part of how we're gonna do that. I don't know if we could write that in here.
Well, I think it's worthwhile as an an idea that's come up that.
How would you phrase it?
Except it really begins to complicate things because then you're going to have to get more land and start working with.
Yeah, well, I'm not throwing out there to complicate things, but it
Yeah.
potentially could save some money if a temporary bridge didn't have to be constructed and then torn down.
See, I like the thinking of that because it makes sense, and then, quite honestly, you could leave this one in place for bicycles and pedestrians. And just if they want to build one bridge, make it wide enough for a couple of cars, and just identify the one that's there now as the pedestrians and bicycles.
Yeah.
That would seem to me to make it simpler
Yeah.
all the way around. That way you don't have to tear this one down, you don't have to go through all that process.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to throw a lot of gobbledygook in here right now about it, but just to put out there that we're open to creative solutions.
Yeah.
That maybe somebody sitting in Montpelier doesn't see that when they're
Well-
looking at a map and et cetera. So when the engineers are here, when they get to that point, a couple of years down the road,
Yeah.
we say, hey, this might work, might not, but
I would like to believe they see the wisdom of saving money doing it that way. So,
Well, you're talking about the government, right?
hold it. Excuse me.
So maybe that doesn't get put in here, it's out on the
But
table.
that's something for us all to be aware of, because in the future, I think that's a very good idea. Okay, are there any special aesthetic considerations we should be aware of? She wrote down to keep the same iron bridge.
I think that's important. I think that is an identity, one of the identities of the town, the history of the town.
So that would also dovetail with leaving that as the foot and bicycle bridge and building a.
Yeah, and you can build open truss bridges instead of closed truss bridges that would have no height restrictions, that still would look,
For cars.
truss bridge.
For trucks
you
and
know,
cars
so
and
that-
campers.
So it looks right.
I think that makes sense. See, the thing about the aesthetic thing is, I remember when we were trying to buy bridges, we were trying to correct, there's been several that we've had to rebuild since Irene, and it's just been cheaper to put the stupid concrete things down and put guardrails than to get into designing and building
Right.
these.
But I think that's been the positive side of having this out in front of us right now to voice our
Exactly.
opinions on that, and if
I
it
think
comes.
that, I think there needs to be an aesthetic with that because of the rural nature of that down there as well. You just don't have a concrete bridge.
It may be required.
Well, it could be a still
That's a
concrete base
landmark.
on it, but.
That's a landmark bridge, so it may be required to,
Oh, okay.
that's what they had to do on the bridge between 30 and 100. Because that's why that's a girder bridge, because it was a landmark bridge before.
Oh, okay.
A land, what bridge?
Landmark.
A landmark bridge.
So that's another good point. They may have, all this stuff is down the roads. So she wrote to keep the same iron bridge, or the same style iron bridge. We can write that in there, and that would dovetail with the aesthetics and the potential as a landmark. And it would also add to the logic of keeping that one as a bike pedestrian bridge, building something downstream a little bit for cars and trucks and campers. We still have the bridge.
Possible, yeah. I mean, there may be multiple
Yeah.
maintenances
Oh,
of the
this-
bridges, but that's down the road.
At least they're thinking about
We'll
this
make
stuff.
those statements here.
Exactly, exactly. Number 4, does the location have a history of flooding? If yes, explain. She wrote that water is controlled by the Ball Mountain Dam project.
I agree. Yeah, there's no.
So the flooding portion of it is next to us. It's not gonna happen, because it's all controlled. That's what the dams are for.
Me, no.
So it fails.
Page 3 of 3. Are there any known hazardous material sites near the project site? Not that we're aware of. Number 6, are there any known historical, archaeological, or other environmental resources, or resource issues, near the project site? And she says they should talk to the state park, because I remember something about the state park was doing something, and then they got held up for some Indian relics or something.
Salmon Hole is there. I mean,
Yeah,
that was obviously
Salmon Hole,
the
that's
the
so-
historic site of
Is
the
that upstream or downstream?
massacres upstream.
Upstream,
Yeah.
yeah, that might have been what I was, yeah.
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 So, obviously, that means they gotta do a historical, and that slows everything down, but alerting to them in the front end, I think, makes some sense. So what we could say then, that,
You also have the train too, if you're looking at the West River Railroad. The tracks went right through there, so if there's, I know that they put placards in the state park now talking about it.
Mhm.
And if that were some historic and you're gonna redirect that bridge, you're gonna be potentially getting in, and I don't know if anyone would care, but I'm just saying that that's a historical
It is,
thing in the
Yeah.
valley that, that people have been interested in, so.
Right.
right.
let's see,
Get it?
did the old railroad line go right past?
Right there.
Yeah, because that's
That
why
was
that
right
road
there.
is so flat.
Yeah, okay.
The path in the park, so basically, and the depot is, I don't know if that's the original depot or not, but the.
No, that's okay. I mean, their contact station was modeled and paid tribute, I guess, to the
Yeah, to the
railroad.
depot, right.
And there was a landing area there. There was the main line and there was a landing.
So maybe we could
sidetrack.
say that there was historic or ancient railway bed.
Historic.
Historic. It's not-
Historic railway bed.
Mhm.
And what's the generic description of Salmon Hole?
I mean,
Native
Revolutionary
American
War.
Native American.
Fishing.
Well, that's the site of a massacre.
massacre
Yeah.
site.
It is.
Well, I don't know if I want to get specific to what it was.
Native American Historic Site.
Yeah, historic, Native American historical location.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, rather than saying specific what it was, because then we said, oh, this is there, or is there anything else? We don't know if there's anything else on it. Are there any utilities, water, sewer, communications, power attached to the existing bridge? Not aware. I don't believe there is. Yeah, not aware of any. Are there any existing, pending, or planned municipal utility projects, communications, lighting, drainage, sewer, water, wastewater, etc., near the project that should be considered not aware of any? If they find, if the water project goes through and they find water over there on the other side of the bridge, that'll be a concern. Are there any other issues that are important for us to understand and consider? She wrote down not at this time. I think that pretty much covers it. The next section, please provide a copy of your existing and future land use map or zoning map if applicable. We don't have any zoning. Are you aware of a land use map that involves this at all?
Yes.
There are, in the town plan, there's certainly land use maps.
Right.
And I'd say we should provide a copy of our town plan. I mean, it's pretty comprehensive.
The whole plan or just that map? Because they're only asking for the map.
I would supply the whole thing.
All right, because in number 2 it says existing pending or planned development proposal that would impact
Right.
future transportation patterns. So we could put in the town plan for all 3 of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, let give it a read. and-
Yep. There's any plan extension of public transit intercity? No, not at this time, but we'll give you the town plan and you can figure it out. So for the answers 1, 2, and 3, we'll make a paragraph existing, see the existing town plan. That should cover that. Communications, please identify any local communication outlets that are available to us to use in communicating with the local population, including TV and blah. So we got Brattleboro Reformer, BCTV, official town website. Those are we have no effective radio.
I think the Jamaica Facebook page is pretty
What
well
is
used.
the one that, that's a little, newspaper that's free?
Comments?
No.
The Commons would certainly be one to include, I'd say.
Yeah.
Also the News Guide, or the News Guide's still out there, the
Journal.
Vermont Journal. I mean, there's all kinds
There's
of.
one called something like the Shopper that keeps getting sent to my
Yeah, the
house.
shopper is one,
But
but
the
that's
Common
the
does
one
have
that
it.
makes
Yeah, put it in
news
Commons.
articles.
The Commons.
Yeah, Common, that's the one.
That's the comments, yeah, because I picked that up over at Karen's period.
And I think the Jamaica Facebook page is
Okay,
well read also.
that's an option. Other than people/organizations already referenced in this questionnaire, are there any others who should be kept in the loop as the project moves forward? Vermont Parks and Rec and the Jamaica State, the Vermont Parks and Recreation Jamaica State Park is what you put down. And they should certainly be in the loop because it's their,
And I would include the Army Corps of Engineers and
Okay.
Wyndham Regional Commission.
yes, that makes sense. Good thinking. All
Where's
right,
the other one besides, Wyndham Regional?
Army Corps.
Army Corps of
Army
Engineers.
Corps, yeah.
yeah. Now, I'm sure they're in this already, but it's not them hurt us to write them down as players. Yep. All right, so Sarah and I will polish this up tomorrow and we will get it out
Who does it go to?
if we have time. What?
Who does it go to?
It goes to the state, goes to, I've got the address here, goes to, Marion Major, Energy and Transportation, no, that's when we got it. Who's it go to?
Laura Stone.
Oh, yeah, Lordstown.
Lordstown.
Yeah, Lordstown. I've got it in here, this pile of stuff someplace. Alrighty then, moving on. I want to inject, we've got time for public concerns. Are you here for public concern? Okay, so what I want to do is really quickly cover one more thing and then we'll get on to, we have an executive session for a personnel matter, we can do that. First thing I want to cover is, over the weekend, I was at a conference up in Lake Maury for emergency managers and that sort of stuff. And there's a project that we started here in Jamaica back before Irene that was completely blown out of the water by the intensity of the work necessary to fix Irene. But while I was neglecting that project, others weren't in other towns. And so they have a program called Citizens Assistant Registry for Emergencies. It's actually, we call it C.A.R.E. And it's a combination of the United Way 911, 211, and the Vermont Emergency Management. What this is, and we're going to have these forms available in the town office, and if you request, we can mail them off to you. This is a voluntary program where someone who has a disability or other special circumstance which may cause them to need special help in an emergency, please complete this form and return it to Vermont 211. Here's what happens. The 911 operator gets a call, for example, that we've washed out a road or a snowstorm or something, and there's a blockage upstream. They can look at their map and see if there's a specific issue. Some of the issues, for example, can you ride a car? Do you have generators? Do you have oxygen that requires a certain generator over so many? Lots of different things. That will be coded on the 911 map. So those of us who are on the responder end of it know what's out there, and we can kind of marshal the resources to get to people who have the most amount of difficulty. This works out. This obviously, when we did Irene, it was handy to have people who had four-wheelers who could go pull people out. Some of you may remember we took, I think, 35 people, 4 dogs, and a parrot or something, came out of the woods that weekend. But the issue is, it's totally voluntary. This information doesn't go to anybody except 911 until there's an emergency. The only way, even as an emergency management director, I cannot access this information except by going through the fire chief, who then goes through our dispatcher, who then contacts 911. So the security is about as good as we can make it and still be able to find people. But to give you an example, I would need assistance if my area was being evacuated, if isolated, road closures or blizzards, had a long-term power outage. And that would be coded in the system. So if we had that, we'd know of people who had difficulties we might not otherwise know about. And answer simple questions. I could ride in a car. I use a wheelchair. I would need to ride an ambulance. I have specialized medical equipment that is powered by electricity. I have a service animal. I'm deaf. I have oxygen I need. Understand, this does not guarantee anybody's safety, but it does tell the responders what we may need to do to make sure everybody's safe as soon as possible. It is totally voluntary. Nobody is going to come knocking on your door for anything else. You fill it out, you send it to the Vermont 211. They put it into the system. So my hands are off it, except to provide the forms. They're going to start an advertising, apparently, next week or so. They're going to start really heavily advertising it because we're getting into the winter season and we're getting these opportunities for problems are becoming increased with the weather. I just want everybody in Jamaica to understand, we have the forms in the town office. We can get them to you. Somebody can take them for you. You fill it out, you mail it in, and then there's a better chance that we'll know what's going on if the need arises. Does that make sense? Any questions from the?
No, sounds
That
like
makes
a
sense?
great idea.
Yeah, it was a good idea, but they did a lot of work.
Yeah.
And they've got it worked out so that HIPAA problems, we don't need to know specifics about medical care. If you're in a wheelchair, we don't care why. You need oxygen, because that's all we do. We respond, and we will make sure we can do the best we can in that part. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? All right. I would like to move that we go into an executive session for the purposes of a personnel matter.
Right here.
What's
I
that?
move,
Oh, good.
providing that premature general public knowledge of a personnel issue would clearly place said personnel at substantial disadvantage because the select board would disclose information in public if it discusses this in public.
Thank you.
Something to that effect.
All in favor, say aye.
Second.
You got a second? Any reason? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now the second one is.
So I move that we enter into executive session to discuss said personnel issue under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes.
I'll second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes as well. Rich, there may be an action afterwards. I know, I'm sorry. I can't be sure. Sort of, I mean, that's why we have to discuss it. All right, we stand adjourned temporarily to allow the other people to leave. It's at 7 after 8. Oh, you're just about to tell me that.
Coming back in,
We
yes.
need to go back in to go off.
Make
Okay.
a motion to adjourn.
Wait, did you bring us back in
You brought us back in.
Yeah.
without me?
No, you're here. We're
We're here, we're back
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
in. Right?
We have to say, no decision was made in the executive.
That's correct. There will be no action.
No action taken.
No action taken.
Yeah.
Any further discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned at 40.